I made it a little unsubtle in my 2 previous videos that I really enjoy Casshern Sins. This show has made me fucking hollow since I watched it back in 2024. And I mean that in the best way possible. While I'm admittedly very biased for it, as I haven't seen the original or the Robot Hunter OVA to really see how unfaithful it is as an adaptation, which tends to be its biggest criticism, I overall think, especially compared to modern ones, that it was not made with any malicious intent to shit on the original, if only for the fact it has a really beautiful message of living your life to the fullest. Which, sure, that's not something that's really new in any media, but I think it's one of the most important life lessons you can ever teach in one. There's so much about this show that I can praise in terms of what it does right. I think the thing that stands out the most in Sins has to be its solid, diverse cast of female characters. There are at least 4 major female characters along with plenty of side characters that we spend a decent amount of time with in the show. I was debating to do an entire video on the girls as every single one of them has something interesting to discuss, but I decided I'm going to focus specifically on Lyuze. Side note, her name is so fucking weird to pronounce and I might butcher it throughout the video. I don't think her name is a name, so yeah. There's also some bias here as well, because she is my favorite character from Sins, and I've admittedly not looked into every Casshern Sins video to know if she was ever talked about in depth. And I also can't rely on the Sins fandom because it's barren, like the show itself. But from the few people I've talked to, I think she's pretty underrated, so I will do my best as her strongest fan to say why I think she's an interesting female character. Oh, and as always, spoilers ahead. I highly encourage you actually watch Sins because it's really good, but if you don't care about spoilers, then yeah, let's get into it. Lyuze serves as a secondary protagonist of Sins, despite the fact that in the first half she doesn't appear in every episode. I deem her sorta as the plot flag character, as almost every time she appears, something significant happens that moves the story forward in the otherwise slow beginning that Sins has. She drops a lot of huge plot exposition, telling both Casshern and the viewers about the world prior to the ruin, but obviously, she still has a character. When Casshern killed Luna, which started the apocalypse, Lyuze's sister Lyuze was a servant for Luna, got badly injured trying to protect her, and later became one of the first victims of the ruin. Now, admittedly, Lyuze is one of Sin's weaker writing points as obligatory fridge woman, but she has a slightly better use of this otherwise terrible trope for being another female character's motivation, rather than a man's, especially because of how much it explains Lyuze's actions. What makes Lyuze a bit more interesting compared to the average character who wants to kill Casshern for his immortality is she is probably the one character who doesn't care about actually gaining it. She just wants him gone because she needs to avenge her sister. It's clear Lyuze is carrying a lot of survivor's guilt. Lyuze of all characters wants to be a genuine hero to the world, and not for any selfish reasons. She just thinks it's her responsibility to rid the world of Casshern, that killing him will fix everything. And yet, you can tell that she's clearly holding back. Lyuze fails to kill Casshern, and if it wasn't for Frender, aka Good Boy, to save her, she would have been dead when he fought back. She later saves Casshern from Dio and says she wants to be the one to kill him, but she had every opportunity to do it at that moment since Casshern's healing factor hadn't properly kicked in yet. So why does she let him live? Well, Lyuze is less tougher than she looks. She is still strong, especially compared to the average robot in this apocalypse. Don't get me wrong, but the thing holding her back is her empathy. Lyuze isn't heartless. When Casshern willingly gives himself up to be killed by her, she feels immensely guilty. She only goes through with it out of a trauma response of remembering her sister's death, but her emotions are exactly why she held back from ending him there. She only acts cold when he questions her to hide her true feelings. The spitefulness she shows to him is still genuine. But her goal of wanting to kill him is not going to come to pass with these emotional walls she has to face. It becomes especially hard for her to remain to her goal when it's revealed that Luna might not actually be dead. We jump ahead to the middle of the show now. After learning in episode 9 that Luna might actually be alive, and every episode to follow is alluding to that reveal even more, episode 13 is truly the moment where the story shifts gears, with the pacing picking up and the information being dropped in these episodes affecting all the characters. Lyuze especially. While Luna being alive doesn't change the fact that the ruin still happened, and well, Lyuze is still dead, this is where Lyuze begins to deeply question her actions. Because what weight does her goal have if the state of the world might actually be temporary? And time again, Casshern proves to be he's not a killing machine anymore. He's a genuine hero in person. When Casshern's origins are revealed to be he was a robot with organic parts for reproduction purposes, God, that's a fucking sentence, to bring new life into the world, only for that plan to fail, so he was remade into a soldier, and to carry out the act of killing Luna. He did not take it well. While Ringo, the innocent child she is the main person to try to convince Casshern that he's not evil, Lyuze is surprisingly the one to tell him to keep fighting and to protect people. Especially to protect children, as Ringo gets put into danger during all of this chaos. But it is interesting how, despite Lyuze kind of being right that Casshern was a killing machine, she still chooses to side with him. Because after one unfortunate ass beating later by Leda, Lyuze decides here and now that she'll finally see Casshern has changed. Or I guess to put it more appropriately, he is far from the person Lyuze was told he was. He is actually saving lives despite causing the ruin. The two decide to go off together to find Luna, and this is where things take an interesting turn for Lyuze's character. Lyuze is being fully honest with her feelings. She's not giving in to her survivor's guilt. She is seeing Casshern for the person he is, and not the one that was fabricated in her head. Okay, well, he still killed Luna, but you get my point. For a bit, Lyuze takes a bit of the backseat in the middle half, even if now she's in every single episode. But we get subtle hints of how she's beginning to appreciate things more. She is confused when Dune is so focused on killing Casshern because of what he did to Luna, not realizing that she was once in that same position, blinded by rage, because she just appreciates Casshern for who he is now. Her and Ringo also begin to develop this very cute older sister, little sister dynamic. Ringo never had a problem with Lyuze because she was honestly oblivious to her grudge with Casshern, and Lyuze always liked Ringo because she was just an innocent child. But the moment to really cement how close they are is when Ringo makes her this glass necklace and gives it to her. Lyuze deeply appreciates this gift because the one thing Lyuze has avoided in this apocalypse was getting close to people. Not just because she was only focused on revenge, but she probably didn't want to lose anyone after Lyuze. Lyuze has been so blinded by rage to make relationships or to fully be honest with herself. And this is when episode 18 happens. Oh boy, this episode. It probably stands out in the entire series. To make up for all the lost time we had with Lyuze in the first half of her not appearing, this episode is a deep dive into her mind in one of the most bizarre ways possible. And yet it works. Lyuze is dreaming. Or so she says this entire episode. But it's really her having a deep reflection with herself. She is haunted by Lyuze throughout the episode. Done in the creepiest way possible of Lyuze's body being naked and breaking down in front of her like glass. The guilt of not killing Casshern is crushing her, and yet every time she tries in the dream, she either kills Lyuze on accident or just can't bring herself to it. Her emotions are at war with herself. She wants to convince herself that Casshern is still a monster, but she knows that's not true. But after a lot of reflecting, Lyuze has decided that she is in love with Casshern, which, to some people, they may groan, but hear me out for a second! While a female character getting with a male character is very boring at this point, I think what they did here is an actually good use of the enemies to lovers trope. It really helps that Casshern has proved himself to be a better person throughout the series, and he actually never resented Lyuze despite the many times she tried to kill him. So, it opened up to Lyuze finally growing as a person. What I deeply appreciate about this confession is that it comes off so natural because it was Lyuze reflecting her own feelings. It feels like an actual development and not just tacked on because we had the seeds planted that Lyuze was going to come around to him eventually. And something else that's really cool that they do as Lyuze is having these feelings is that she's fighting enemies. Sure, they're metaphorical, But it's still a really cool way to show that she's not going to become weak and just be protected by him. She's going to fight alongside him, and that's exactly what she decides to do. So, Lyuze deciding to also leave the memory of her sister behind has now come to the point where she can make decisions for herself. Now, where does that lead us? Well, she's gonna get doomed by the narrative. And so, we reached the final 6 episodes. While I'll always appreciate the artistic choices made in episode 18, episode 19 is probably my favorite episode of the show, as it's the final step in Lyuze's character arc before the ending, and it has one of the realest moments I've ever seen in anything where Lyuze contemplates her death. But to start at the beginning, as the trio is looking for Luna and getting very close to that goal, they encountered these 2 characters whose names I already forgot, LMAO, that are clear mirrors of Lyuze and Casshern. One of them even looks like Lyuze, but that might just be a coincidence. After the group barely makes it by with their lives, and it seems like they killed the other 2 characters, we go fully in depth on the mental state of Lyuze. She went from someone who took her life for granted, and now she never wants to face death. A very human fear for a robot. How ironic. After this encounter and Lyuze questioning her morality some more, we get this not-so-subtle sequence of her in this beautiful flower field. Ringo even gives her a flower for her hair. Aw, how cute and wholesome! And then a bunch of butterflies surround her, which represent death. We see her arm rusting, flowers decaying, and she passes out from the realization that she is going to die. Soon, even. The journey to find Luna, now more than ever, has become a race against time. Lyuze now needs to see her to gain immortality, but she doesn't know if she's going to make it. It rains, which worsens her ruined state, and Lyuze notices her hands feeling more rusted. She's at her breaking point. She feels hopeless. Casshern's words to try to comfort her don't get through to her, so she decides that it's better if he puts her to rest. This scene is such a great role reversal and also absolutely heartbreaking, as Lyuze wastes her life trying to fight Casshern, only to stop once he too confesses he has the same feelings for her. Lyuze feels bad for hurting him and cries into his chest, but he promises her that he'll get her to Luna. This was the moment I was just really sold on the relationship of these 2. Suddenly, the character to mirror Lyuze appears, seeing that she hasn't died, attempting to kill her for a second time, only for her to die instead right in front of Lyuze, showing Lyuze more and more that life is fleeting, and how here and now she has to decide if she wants to keep living. This episode is fucking beautiful and really enforces Sin's narrative, to find a reason to keep on living even if death is going to come. But now comes the real question. Is Lyuze going to actually gain immortality? Well, no. Mainly because Luna is not herself anymore. Instead of being the kind savior she once was, she's heartless, disgusted by any sight of death, and won't save everyone if they are a lost cause to her. Not even Dune, one of her own servants, who dies in front of her. With Casshern's group watching as this played out, and Lyuze is deeply enraged and disturbed. This all occurred in episode 20, but episode 21 shows the proper shift of Lyuze going from needing immortality to keep living to absolutely despising it because of how Luna and the other people she granted immortality don't actually appreciate life, and Lyuze doesn't want to be a part of that. Casshern was already the character to embody, yeah, being immortal is kind of not fun actually. Lyuze gives the perspective of why you shouldn't actually become immortal. Not because you will lose people, or ourselves, but because life is more worth living when we don't have time to do everything. Yet, we can choose what to do with that time. Lyuze even lashes out quietly at Casshern for him suggesting he should still go to Luna, slicing his face only to feel guilty and falling into his arms as the ruin continues to affect her. Here we get this very sad yet soft moment of Lyuze considering herself ugly compared to Casshern, hating how her body is breaking down while he can repair himself and he feels so soft. But she would rather stay this way if it means that she can just be herself. The following 2 episodes after this don't really give Lyuze a lot of spotlight, even if her goals are the same. She wants to live despite how close her death is. She wants to stay with Casshern. So now we jump forward to the final episode. A time jump happens after Casshern decides he's not going to deal with Luna anymore. Him, Lyuze, Frender, Ringo, and OG all made a house somewhere in the middle of nowhere with the intent on growing more flowers. Lyuze's body is in a worse state than it was before. She can barely even stand. But despite all this, she's enjoying planting flowers and just living here with everyone. We get a lot of very soft intimacy between her and Casshern here. Them holding on to each other every single chance they get. Casshern even picks her up by her feet to carry her because she just can't walk anymore. The 2 of them, along with Ringo and Frender, take a visit to the ocean. Lyuze finding happiness in the little seashells that she finds. She likes them just as much as flowers. And here we have a line that truly shows all of her character development.
Looking back, I'm really glad I didn't kill you. It would have been a mistake.
This cements how much Lyuze has grown as a person. She really did make the right choice in not killing Casshern. Not because, again, he proved himself to be a better person, but because what would be left for her to do if she did kill him? It's pretty much alluded to that Casshern killing Luna is why when she came back, she's so scared of death. So if Lyuze killed Casshern and if he came back, he would be messed up too. Lyuze avoided making things worse, while also pursuing her own happiness in doing so. Letting go of revenge, accepting her death, has made her both a better person and made her appreciate everything life has to offer. She would not be here if her emotions didn't get the better of her. And now, we reach the end. Lyuze's death is painful. It's sad, but it was coming. I think what makes this death not fall under the trap of killing off the female lead at the end because of misogyny is because it's the perfect ending for her character. I've never seen a death so infamous, well, besides Persona's 3 ending, how funny, I know, that feels like it actually provides good closure and wasn't done entirely to upset the viewers. It still hurts, but the show doesn't make you feel bad for it. It hurts for Casshern, it hurts for Ringo, but we are allowed to feel sad, and we should appreciate the fact that Lyuze is happy. She's happy even in her last moments. And what a happier way to die than her smiling and her being held in Casshern's arms. Lyuze is the most human character of Casshern Sins, despite the fact she is the most normal robot of the main cast. Her struggle and acceptance of death is something we all face, and the fact her life had so many meaningful struggles, yet she still got to be happy all the way to her last moments is something we all strive for. To be happy we lived at all. To die with people we love around us. I need to wrap up this video before I cry. Fuck! So, what I can say is that Lyuze will always be the defining character of Sins' story to me. Without her, I don't think the overarching themes would have gone across as well, if she was written any different. Despite this, I do understand why she is kind of overlooked. Either some people didn't like how she started off antagonistic and independent without a man, only to get with one. How she didn't appear enough in the first half for people to feel the connection for her, despite how much the second half really makes up for it. Or a reason exclusive to the fans that have seen the original iterations, but is still fair enough. Her character arc could have just been Luna's, and Luna's just could have been hers. Because the one thing I do know about the prior iterations is that Luna was the original love interest for Casshern, but she isn't in Sins, nor is Sins Luna at all accurate depiction of what Luna is. So it's kind of understandable from that perspective to kind of be meh on Lyuze, because what was the point of making a second love interest if the first one was right there? Though, if I had a nickel for every time an interesting girl character was screwed over for some people in the adaptation context because she replaced a different one, I'd have 2 nickels. Okay. My own personal gripe with her character, though, is that I kind of wish she got more proper fights, especially because the later one was rushed. But the ones she still got were cool, especially the one in episode 8, and the fact she was a good character overall makes up for it. This is likely going to be the longest video on my channel, but I'm okay with that because I really love yapping about characters. I hope to start a kind of mini-series covering my favorite characters in different media, why they're good, going into if they're overlooked or not, that sort of thing, and I'm just glad I could talk about Casshern Sins because this is a beautiful show and you should really give it a chance.